Hello, 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 hello. Here we are, live again, and I'm so happy to be here. Today has been an incredible day, and I'm just feeling so much overflow at the moment, and I cannot wait to share what this live is about. Essentially, it is all about detoxing, but instead of focusing on detoxing, right, I'm actually going to take a different perspective today, and we're going to talk about ama, or the Sanskrit term for toxins. The reason for this is that ama is something that most of us have normalized in our day-to-day experience. Most of us go through our lives with acne. We experience incredible PMS or hormonal imbalances, like tender breasts, really heavy or irregular periods. We have, hanger when we're really, really hungry. That's another hormonal imbalance. We have so many things that we normalize every single day. And I want to address this. And I want to address this with so much love, with so much compassion, and also with a solution for you. So welcome to this space. Thank you for being present. Thank you for your attention, for your time, for your energy. Let's jump into it. And hi, Garki. All right. So first of all, I'm going to start by sharing a little story. We're going to start with some story time. When I was 21 years old, I decided it would be fun to go up to Northeast Ontario, a small little town called Hearst, and then I was 2.5 hours into the bush from there to do some tree planting. I was on my hippie shit in that moment, and I'm so glad that I did. However, I got extremely sick when I was there. So I was hours away from any hospital, I had no access to antibiotics, and I ended up getting strep throat, and I pushed through because I was, I thought I was invincible, I thought I was going to be okay. And after about 5 or 6 days of having strep throat, it continued to worsen and it became an abscess on my tonsil. So I was faced with a decision in that moment, which was either stay, see it through, or leave and don't go back to this tree planting dream that I had idealized. So of course I chose me. I left. I drove, well, a friend of mine actually drove. I slept almost the entire way, 10.5 hours to a hospital in a small town called Penetanguishene. So shout out to Kristen. Thank you for saving my life, literally. And I got to the hospital and I couldn't speak. It had been days that I hadn't been able to eat. At this point, I was not even able to swallow my own spit, let alone drink any liquids. So I was very weak. I was exhausted and I was just not well. And I got to the triage and I had written down what I needed. I had told her what was going on and I showed it to her, and immediately she looked at me and she got me in through the emergency room. And I spent 4 days in that hospital room, hooked up to an IV, still unable to speak. And in that moment, I was presented with, well, I guess it was probably day 3 at this point. The dietitian had come in and said to me, oh, okay, great. So I think we're going to start to give you some liquid food now. How does beef stew sound? And maybe some orange jello, because you got to get your orange in, beta carotene and all of that. And how about some milk as well for your calcium? At this time, I was not a super healthy eater, right? I was plant-based, but I wasn't really healthy. And I looked at this dietitian and I was like, wait, what? None of that sounds right. All of that sounds wrong. I'm good. I'm not going to eat that. I'm plant-based. So she looked totally perplexed. She didn't know what to do. And she was like, I guess we can give you some beef or some pea stew. So she did. She ended up bringing up pea stew and continued to bring up the jello and the milk for me, which I didn't drink. And as I was sitting there in that hospital bed, I was thinking to myself, this is so broken. This system is so broken. What is going on? And I wanted to say that before I even had a chance to connect with what was correct for me and what I needed, it really started in my head, right? Thinking something about this is really messed up and something needs to change. So it was quite literally while I was lying in the hospital bed, I came across this ad for a nutrition school, the school that I ended up signing up for days later. And on my way out of the hospital, the doctor had said to me, great, and once you've healed from this abscess, you can look into getting your tonsils removed so this doesn't happen again. So not only were they trying to push some food on me that was totally against my morals and my values, but also didn't sound healthy. I'm sorry, but orange jello, it's just like sugar, gelatin, and dye. Nothing about that is healthy. I don't understand why a hospital, right, a place that is originally meant to be for healing, was offering that type of food. And then the first suggestion, once I was healed after taking some heavy antibiotics for 10 more days, was to remove my first line of defense of my immune system, right? That's what our tonsils are for. We're so quick to remove the problem rather than actually getting to the root of what the issue is. And I think that that mentality is something that is quickly changing, thankfully, and we need to start to shift. So skip ahead, I ended up learning that the reason that I was getting so sick with this strep throat, the reason that I ended up with an abscess on my tonsil, was because I had so many imbalances going on in my body, right? It was really rooted in my gut microbiome. I had not taken good care of my gut because I had spent once or twice a year, every year, on antibiotics due to strep throat, which completely ruined my microbiome. And then, of course, after taking those heavy antibiotics, I just went back to a very standard American plant-based diet, which was full of a lot of simple carbohydrates, a lot of sweets and treats, a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, a lot of just not sleeping, and everything that you would imagine a 21-year-old is doing in that time. So all of this to say, this was my first real wake-up call when it came to my health and how my body was expressing health and wellness. And in that case, it was expressing it very poorly. When I was in school for nutrition, it was the first time it dawned on me, like, wow, okay, I had no idea that this, right, my gut microbiome had such a big impact on my throat. Like, they seemed so disconnected, and yet somehow they were so connected. In fact, they were exactly connected. Also, little fun anatomy fact for you, when we're in utero, right, the first things that are part of the way that we develop, like our hips develop, the base of our spine, and also the top here, and then like they grow apart. So this is why our jaw and our hips are so connected, right? We think in yoga practices, your teacher is probably always saying, relax your jaw, right? Let's open the hips. When you open your hips, you might have a lot of emotion come up, which causes us to tense the jaw. There's a lot of connection there. So of course there's going to be a connection with our internal organs and our throat and all of that. So I want to reel it in for just a moment here. And the reason that I'm sharing this is because I had normalized all of the symptoms that led up to me going to the hospital. Every single one of them, which was acne, right? I had acne all over my face. I had acne on my back and on my chest most of the time. I normalized my PMS, which was off the charts. Like, I had very irregular, very heavy, very uncomfortable periods. I was so moody, and I was just really, generally speaking, in like a pretty depressive and angry state. I had normalized having eczema on my inner arms and even on my eyelids, right? I had normalized having food cravings to the point where I would binge eat until I felt sick. Usually I wouldn't purge, I never got to that point, but I would continue to eat and stuff myself, which then led to like hating myself, right? That self-loathing and that shame that comes along with it. There were so many ways that I was imbalanced. Oh, and also migraines. Migraines were something that I was processing and dealing with on a regular basis, like a couple times per month. Oh, it was a lot. And that all felt okay because that was all I'd ever known. I didn't know another way. I didn't know it was possible to not have migraines all of the time. I didn't know it was possible to have a really easeful experience in my menses every month and in my body. I didn't know it was possible to feel sexy and good while I was bleeding. I didn't know it was possible to have a really high energy throughout the entire experience. I didn't know it was possible to go an entire month without having my skin break out. I didn't know it was possible to have my baseline, mentally speaking, like in my mental health baseline, be a lot higher, right? Because again, that was how it had always been. So I'm sharing this today because something tells me that there's a part of you that may be able to see yourself in this as well. And I think that it's so important we address that it's possible to have our bodies be in a state of alignment where we are having a really harmonious relationship with our bodies. Now, whether you are female, male, anyone in between, right, non-binary, whether you bleed still or not, that's not the point. The point is that we are all on our own rhythms. We are all on a schedule internally with our biorhythms. And when we when we understand those biorhythms and we actually start to work with them in a more harmonious way, things like going into our period once a month don't feel so daunting, right? It doesn't feel like, ugh, okay, here we go again. Ugh, I'm on my period. Ugh, you know? It actually starts to feel like, yummy. This can actually feel really good. When we start to develop a deeper sense of body wisdom, when we go into those natural lows with our mental health, because it's really a spectrum and it's going to fluctuate, right? I would never sit here and tell you like I'm always really in a positive mood and a positive mindset. No, there are definitely days when I'm just like, wow, not feeling great today. Don't really want to show up online today and show my face, right? Don't really feel like hanging out with my friend. Don't really feel like doing all the things. But we start to have this experience when we're in those lows where it's like, okay, what is the lesson here? What is the teacher? And the same thing goes with our skin. The same thing goes with our eating patterns, right? Like if I'm craving something that's really high sugar, if I'm wanting to find myself in that binging moment again, like what is the teacher? What is the lesson here? And the more that we can become aware of these moments, right? These like low moments as teachers, oh, it becomes so, so, so good to be in the body. So when I started this conversation, I had mentioned ama. And the word ama in Sanskrit and Ayurveda means toxins. And we all have environmental toxins, toxins from our food, toxins from, you know, that our bodies just naturally release, right? Literally, like your poop and your pee are waste, right? They are ama. And let's say that you're constipated and you haven't gone to the washroom for a couple of days, or even a full day, right? We want to be going on a regular schedule, obviously, but seriously, that toxicity, that ama, that waste can get recirculated through your bloodstream. And that's one of the ways that we can experience buildup of ama in the body. So it's really important that we understand this for ourselves and also understand what the signs and symptoms might be. I want to also say there's a good chance that if you're sitting here, you're like, oh no, I don't really resonate with any of that, Amy. And that's totally fine. But I'm going to get into some deeper ways that we can start to develop that sense of body wisdom. All right, so the first one that I love, your tongue is the only internal organ that we can see. Also, your tongue is the first digestive organ in your digestive system. So guaranteed, if you look at your tongue and you're seeing a whitish or yellowish film on your tongue, if you're looking at your tongue and there are like red bumps, right? Those like really uncomfortable red bumps. If you have canker sores in your mouth, if your tongue has cracks down the center of it, if you have a really hot, like bright red tip of the tongue, these are all symptoms of ama. And what that tells you, what's really, really beautiful, and Ayurveda shares this with us, right? Let's say, for instance, you have those cracks down the center of your tongue. Imagine what your intestines look like. Imagine what your bowels look like, right? Most likely a little dry, most likely a little uncomfortable. Maybe there's some constipation happening there. If you've got like a really red tip of your tongue, right? Most likely you're going to be having a lot of acidity, a lot of heat going on, maybe even loose stool. Most likely if you have a whitish, yellowish film on your tongue, right? That film that's very phlegmy, very kapha influenced. Most likely you're going to have a very slow metabolism, very sluggish metabolism, and maybe even really oily bowel movements. All of these are ways that this is only one way really, right? Tongue analysis is such a cool thing, and it's really only one of the ways that we can start to look at what it means when our bodies are in or out of balance. So I'm going to offer a solution here as well. Something that I have adopted and I love is called tongue scraping. You can do this with a spoon, or you can actually go and buy yourself a little copper or stainless steel tongue scraper. And it's just like a little U shape, right? And you're going to start at the back of your tongue. And pro tip, you want to do this as many times a day as you want, definitely first thing in the morning. But when you first wake up in the morning, before you swallow your own spit, before you have a drink of water or coffee or whatever you have in the morning, you want to rise, go to the sink, spit whatever is in your mouth, because again, your body when you're sleeping naturally goes into a state of detoxification. So a lot of the bacteria in your mouth, a lot of the waste that's happening in your mouth, you don't want to swallow that, right? You don't want to ingest that and recirculate it. You want to get it out. So wake up, spit, scrape your tongue. You want to go from the back to the front. 7 is a really good number I've heard, and I really like that number. So you want to go 7 times. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to scrape too hard. It's really just to get some of that bacteria and that film and some of the waste that's been building up in your mouth out of your mouth first thing in the morning. This is going to help with your breath, and this is also going to help with your intestines and your digestive system. It's going to help to purge and allow your mouth to be a form of elimination, right? And it's also going to stimulate your digestive system. So this is one of the really, really beautiful practices that I absolutely encourage you to adopt. Analysis of your tongue, looking at it every single day, first thing in the morning, and also when you first wake up, spitting, scraping, and then going about your day. So what are some other forms of ama, right? Some other things that we totally normalize, because again, your tongue is something that we normalize it quite often, right? I have this like habit sometimes, like when someone sticks out their tongue, like, you know, like Megan Thee Stallion style, I'm like, ooh, what is their tongue doing right now? I'm so curious. What is their intestine? What is their digestion like? And so this is something that you might want to adopt as well. So some other things that we totally normalize, right? We normalize acne. And yes, we are mostly, and I'm using a median age here, I'm 30, and I think a lot of the people I attract are in the same age range. Not the point. If you're older, if you're younger, wonderful, you still have a place here as well, so I encourage you to stick around and listen. But those of us who are in a sort of median age, right, that like 30 years old or so, we are in a very pitta stage of our life, which is naturally going to be a little more like high intensity. We can naturally have more breakouts, right, in our skin. That being said, if you are more vata, you might have a different type of acne. If you're more kapha, a different type of acne. I did a post on this recently, so after this, you can go ahead and check that out. But we normalize having acne, and particularly around a certain time of the month for women or people with uteruses, right? That's something that we normalize. And I even see a lot of men or non-binary folks as well rocking acne. And I want to say, there is absolutely a way that we can heal that. Your skin is your largest detox organ. Shout out to the skin, right? It's protecting you, your internal world, from the external world. So what's happening when we have acne? That is a really big sign that your skin, your largest detox organ, is trying to remove something from your internal world. It's trying to get it out. So we look at acne very often as like a burden, right? Unattractive, or something that we should be ashamed of. And like, no, there's no space for shame here. There's no space for that at all. We want to start to look at the symptom of acne, or even eczema, right? Psoriasis, dermatitis, rosacea. Any time that we have a skin condition, even a fungal skin condition, we want to look at this as a teacher. It's like, oh, wow, all right. My largest detox organ is trying to remove something. What is it trying to remove? We want to be mindful of what we're putting into our bodies, what we're putting onto our bodies, onto our skin, what kind of detergents we're using, what kind of house cleaning products we're using, what we're inhaling, right? Whether that's pollution from outside, we can't always help that, whether that's chemicals that we're spraying and using, perfumes, all of that. We are taking all of that in, and your skin is really just trying to get it out so that your organs, right, your vital organs can keep you safe and can keep you alive. It's a protective mechanism. So some practices that you might want to adopt to keep your skin healthy. Of course, I mean, I could sit here all day and talk about staying hydrated, you know, staying well nourished with the right types of foods and reducing chemicals and all of that, but you know this already. So some practices that you can adopt for your skin specifically. Here are 2. The first is dry brushing. So good. Go get yourself a dry brush, right? If you don't know what that is, a quick Google search will do it. And you just want to very gently, again, you're not scratching and scraping your skin, you don't want to hurt yourself, but you're going from your external organs, like your feet and your hands, all the way up and towards your heart. Best if you can move in little small circles, right? And that's going to be really supportive. You do this dry, you do this, you know, either before you go in the shower or maybe like in the whatever time of the day you want to do that. This is going to gently massage your lymph system, which is your immune system. It's going to stimulate your lymph system to start to move toxins through and out of your body. It's also going to stimulate all of the dead skin cells away so that your having that beautiful cell renewal happening on your skin. It is just one of the most wonderful ways to allow your skin to breathe and to purge. So you don't want to do that too often. I don't recommend doing dry brushing every day. I would say probably once to twice a week, right? And also, fair warning, if you have eczema or any kind of like open dermatitis or anything like that, disturbed or broken skin, I would avoid those areas with dry brushing. I don't think that's going to be super supportive. Disclaimer, I'm not a dermatologist. So like, I'm speaking from a lens of a nutritionist who's studied Ayurveda. I believe in this, I use this, I've recommended this, and I think it's wonderful. And do your research and also use your discernment, always, with everything. And if you do have open skin conditions, like, you want to be mindful of those. So the second thing that I would really, really recommend to keep your skin healthy is adopting Abhyanga. And Abhyanga is a beautiful, warm oil massage. You're gonna do this all over your skin and just let your skin absorb that oil. This is so wonderful, especially if you're more vata imbalanced and you have really dry skin, right? Dry and cool skin. It's wonderful in cool weather. Canada, shout out, right? We're just going into the spring now. But you can do this in all different types of weather. And depending on where you are, let's say that you're in Mumbai, where it's really, really hot, right? You can use a cooling oil like coconut, you can use sweet almond oil, etc. Or if you're somewhere like Canada in the middle of the winter, right? You can use like a mustard oil, you can use sesame oil. And these are also gonna support you in either warming up or cooling down, depending on where you are in the world. All right, so detox organs, right? We talked about your mouth, which is part of your digestive system. We talked about your skin, right? What are the other organs? We've got our liver. Oh, love my liver. Thank you, liver, for doing what you're supposed to do. We've got our kidneys, and we've got our lungs. So these other three detox organs, right? Your lungs, this one's pretty obvious. If you're smoking, even if it's weed, I know that we tend to be like, I don't smoke, but just weed, especially if we're from Canada. Like, I know that that's a very common thing. We are not meant to inhale smoke. That's just what it is, not to that capacity. So whether it's weed or cigarettes or, you know, like whatever, charcoal from a barbecue or chemicals that you're using in your house to clean pollution, right, from cars, all of that kind of stuff. When we're inhaling this, again, it's being processed by your body. So we just want to be really mindful to do some purging rituals when it comes down to our lungs as well. So for those of you who are weed smokers, I'm not going to tell you to stop smoking weed. Do you, boo-boo, right? However, you might want to try switching to edibles or even like topical, right? Whenever possible. I know that sometimes edibles hit different, whatever. Again, use your discernment. Another option could be mixing a little bit of mullein. Mullein grows everywhere in Canada. It's actually a really wonderful herb that is an expellerant. It helps your lungs to expel what's going on. So you can use mullein as a tea, or you can actually even roll it with your weed, or you can roll it separately on its own and smoke that. And that's really helpful to get your lungs to expel toxicity that we might build up in there. Side note, you might actually be coughing a little bit with the mullein, and that's normal because that's what it's designed to do. The way you spell that is M-U-L-L-E-I-N, so go ahead, check it out, find some. I usually get it at the local like bulk food store with teas and all of that kind of stuff, the apothecaries. All right, you still with me? Thank you again for being here, everyone. All right, so the other ones, we have our kidneys, right? And of course our kidneys are there to purify our blood. They're there to expel, right? And the form of waste is obviously our urine. So we want to be really mindful with our kidneys that we're not overdoing the salt. And also we want to be mindful not to underdo the salt. So this is an interesting one because salt has a terrible rep, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'll be mindful of your salt. No, I don't use salt. And we pride ourselves for not using it. But here's what I'm going to say about salt. The right salt is actually wonderful for you and very supportive for your health, including your kidneys, right? So we want to go for a more pigmented salt. So pink salt, black salt, red salt, Hawaiian salt, Himalayan salt, etc. The reason for that is that they have a large portfolio of minerals, 84 minerals, right? A complete profile. And what happens when we have all of those minerals in one type of salt, your body is going to take what it needs and leave what it doesn't. It's very beautiful, the synergy of these whole foods. as opposed to a table salt, right? Typically the type of salt that we see when we're like at a restaurant or like the iodized salt, etc. That is pretty much crap. What's happened with that salt is they've stripped all of the minerals except for sodium and chloride. And what happens when you eat that salt is you get this huge spike of sodium and chloride, and then your body is like panic mode. We have too much sodium, too much chloride. What do? It starts to pull minerals from your bones, from your teeth, from all of the stores within your body to help to regulate, and then you pee out the rest, right? It's crazy. So what happens is you end up depleting yourself when you have that. This is why it's really important when we're talking about salt that we're talking about the right type of salt. This is going to help to balance your minerals. It's going to support you as an electrolyte, keeping you more hydrated, keeping your entire nervous system functioning properly. It's going to keep you going on a more regular schedule. It's just the best thing ever. And another thing with our pee, because I just think it's really important to talk about our waste. It's funny, whenever people are talking about their bowel movements, I always see a lot of people getting really shy and like, oh yeah, like, I don't know, I don't want to talk about this. And I'm like, yo, you know, I say I'm a nutritionist, but really a lot of what we studied is like waste and elimination. So it's totally normal. I think we need to normalize it more. But when we're talking about our pee, if it's too dark and rich in color, that's usually going to say that you're not in a healthy state, right? That you want to be more hydrated. If your pee is totally clear and you're going very frequently, like every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes, you are drinking too much water, you're not actually absorbing it. And that would be a really great time to add a little bit of Himalayan or Hawaiian salt to your water. Not too much that it tastes gross, but just enough to mineralize it, right? To keep your body hydrated, to keep it absorbing. And also, if it's too yellow or almost like a green color, it's a really great sign that you have too many, probably B vitamins going on in your body. So if you're taking like a multivitamin and you're peeing out that really yellow color, most likely that multivitamin is just not any use. You're peeing it out and it's a very expensive pee. All right, so finally, right, we talked about the skin. We talked about the digestive system. I know we talked about only the mouth. The digestive system is so big when we're talking about a detox organ, so I'm not gonna go too deep into that today. And particularly because like your whole lower part of your digestive system, how we're supposed to have bowel movements and all of that, it's very intricate and it can be broken down by your dosha and by your constitution and how you be right now. And I cover that a lot more inside of Holistica, my cleanse, my 21-day cleanse, so I'm not going to cover that here. We talked about the digestive system from the lens of your mouth. We talked about your lungs. We talked about your kidneys. We talked about your skin, right? The largest detox organ. And finally, the liver. Oh, shout out. I love my liver. I love your liver. Thank you, liver, because without our livers, we would literally be dead. So, yo, the liver has so many functions, right? It's got like 400 or 500 functions. It does so many things. Mainly, it purifies our blood. It helps to remove waste from our bodies. It's just wonderful. And so how do we support the liver on a daily basis, right? When we don't have a healthy liver, what that can look like is we are going to be, honestly, like literally every single symptom can be connected to the liver. So what I might say about the liver for right now is that there are the obvious ones like nicotine and alcohol and drugs and all of that. Not super great for the liver. And, you know, like we're all going to make our own choices, but we know that that's something that's not super great for the liver. But when it comes down to the liver, because every single symptom is related to our liver, picture it this way, right? You smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, we eat junk food, we breathe in pollution from the cars outside, we're using like chemicals that are like really unhealthy and we're breathing them in and we're not using gloves and then we're absorbing them and we're eating a ton of fried food and then we're whatever. Let's say that that is how we're living our lives, even if it's just one or two of those things every few days. What happens is that goes in. It goes into your bloodstream, it goes into your body, it goes into your digestive system. And your body has this protective mechanism where instead of sending the toxins, right, the ama, from those environmental factors into your major organs, like your liver, for instance, it actually puts it into your fat cells. This is a protective mechanism that's going to keep your body safe. So then we end up with ama, with toxins in our fat cells. Doesn't matter how big you are, right? It's not just reserved for people who are overweight. It's like literally all of us have fat cells. And then we end up with these toxins in our fat cells protecting our organs. And what happens is that they're just sitting there, right? More toxins are going in, your body's like, oh, let's just throw that over here for now so that we don't put that in the liver or put that somewhere important like the heart or anything, right? Goes in the fat cells. And then we end up building up all of this ama, all of this toxicity in our fat cells. So what happens? Eventually, either we can gain weight or we can start to express symptoms. Symptoms can range from anything to do with your skin, to your breathing, to your habits, right? How do we crave food, to your mental health, headaches, bowel movements, heart palpitations, hormones, you name it. Anything that is not balanced, anything that is not comfortable is a symptom. Brittle hair, brittle nails, right? All of that. Even the texture and the sound of our voice, right? I know that some people have a naturally sexy, raspy voice, and that's wonderful. But I've noticed, like, if I'm feeling a little bit dehydrated or if I'm feeling really like you can hear when there's an imbalance internally. One of my friends said something so beautiful once, and I'll share it with you. And that's that if the eyes are the windows to the soul, then the voice is the mirror to the soul. I'm just gonna let you sit with that one for a minute. So when we are experiencing symptom, right, of any kind, even if it's from time to time, what's happening is that your body is saying we're overloaded. We are just trying to work on getting what you've put in, the food that you've put in, out, so that we can put the next food out and then the next food out. We need to give our bodies time, right? Time to rest, time to chill, so that it can actually process those toxins without just shoving them into fat cells or eliminating them through like a loose stool, for instance, right? We need to give our bodies the right way to go into a state of calmness, go into a state of that parasympathetic nervous system. We need to be putting the right types of foods in. We need to set our environment in a way where we're not, again, overloading our bodies with ama and with toxicity, so that finally it can go, oh, okay, we're not working so hard just to get the food that's going in out. Now it's time to finally go back into those fat cells, right? We call it adipose tissue. If you want to get real geeky with me, I'm going to go into that adipose tissue, into those fat cells. I'm going to pull those toxins that I put there before, and now I'm actually going to process them and eliminate them. So if you've ever done a detox program before and you've had withdrawal symptoms, right? Symptoms of detoxing, which can be like headaches, it can be breaking out, and it's almost like you can go into a cleanse or go into a detox and then you start to feel worse when you're doing it. That's why. The more overloaded you are with ama and toxins, the more intense the detox process is going to be, the more symptoms you will experience, because there's so much that's trying to finally leave your body. So there are ways to mitigate that, right? There are ways to make your detox feel really good. Even if you are coming from, you know, eating all the fried foods, smoking, drinking, doing all the things, partying all the time, whatever. Doesn't matter where you come from. Remember, I came from that too. I was quite literally working in bars, living up at ski hills, partying like 6 nights of the week and maybe sleeping on the last. It was a big moment in my life of just like constantly inputting. And then in those moments when I had nothing going on, I was scrolling, I was binging Netflix, I was socializing, right? There was never a chance to just rest. And this is why I decided to put together Holistica, because I had tried the Wild Rose Cleanse, I tried the Master Cleanse, I tried juice fasting, I tried like a few others that I can't remember the names of. I tried so many different types of cleanses, and guess what? I didn't stick with any of them. I couldn't. I hated them. And I don't use the H word very lightly, but I did not enjoy them at all. I found them difficult. I found them restrictive. I found them just tasteless, boring. And I found the symptoms to be awful, right? And it really took me not only just studying this stuff, right? Yes, I went to school and I studied this. It was actually a few years later that I came up with this cleanse, because after going to school, I was still outsourcing my power, right? I was still very much in that, okay, who can do the best cleanse? I'm going to follow that. Until I hit a point where I was like, no, you know what? I think I'm ready to just do this for myself. I have the tools. I know the major steps, right? We need to purify the body. We need to put something into our bodies that's going to cling to those toxins, and then we have to eliminate. And if you want to know more about those stages of detoxification, I actually did a free 3-part training on holistic detoxification, and I'll leave the link in this post when I'm done with this live. And you're welcome to watch that. And I go a lot deeper into holistic detoxing and holistic cleansing for you. But basically what I wanted to do was create a cleanse that actually worked, first of all, because like, what's the point of just doing it otherwise? I wanted to have it be sustainable. I didn't just want to do a cleanse for 3 days, 10 days, 21 days, whatever, and then go right back to where I was before, right? That would just create a whole spiral of self-loathing and like unworthiness that I didn't need to get into. And I wanted it to taste good. I didn't want to be just drinking cold juices all of the time. I didn't want to be just, you know, drinking, well, it's the master cleanse, lemon and cayenne and maple syrup. I wanted to be eating nourishing, wholesome foods while I was doing this process. So first came the birth of a 7-day cleanse. Then that evolved into a 10-day cleanse. And then last year it evolved into a 21-day cleanse, which I now call Holistica. And Holistica has been, oh my God, my magnum opus. I love this course so much. I love this program so much. The way that I designed it is so user-friendly, right? I designed it so that it's literally videos every single day throughout the 21-day cleanse. So you have a little anchor point in your day. That was very intentional, because the number one reason that people do not stick to these cleanses is lack of accountability and lack of support. So I have loaded this with both accountability and support, as well as community for those of you who want to do it more community-based. I do have an option for that as well. I'll speak a little bit more about that later. And then I also have a self-paced version for those of you who are like, meh, I'm pretty motivated, I can do it on my own. I wanted you to feel like you had an anchor point every day, because when we don't have anchor points in our day, we just kind of flail around. It's like, oh my God, where did the day go? Okay, we gotta go to sleep because I have to work tomorrow. And then we just get into this like habit, this habitual lifestyle. And when we are doing something like a cleanse, we need to have an anchor point to keep us steady, to keep us on point, to keep us moving through, and also to keep the results, right? We want to keep it sustainable. So I had said earlier that I was going to do a little like walkthrough of what Holistica looks like, and I'm not sure that I can do it from my phone, so I'm going to pull up my computer. You gotta bear with me for a second here. And if you're curious to know what it looks like, because I know I'm always a very curious person. I'll type in my password, hang on. And I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you what the whole thing looks like from the perspective of you when you join. And just so you know, while this is loading, because my computer is doing a little loading thing, I am going to be running this program again as a live container. I have integrated Ayurveda, which is something that I have studied since 2016. I have integrated holistic nutrition because I really hold this like spirituality and science perspective. I think that both perspectives are very important. I really like to know the how, like the science, make this make sense for me. And then I also really like to know okay, great, now like show me why this matters so deeply. And that's really where the spirituality comes in. And for those of you who've been in my world, you probably know that I'm also very into human design right now. Human design, and not just right now, I've recently become aware of this world of human design. And what I find is so important about human design is that it really shows us the individuality that I find all of these other systems are lacking. You know, for example, in Ayurveda, we're broken down into doshas, right? Whether we're vata, pitta, kapha, which is wonderful. That adds such a beautiful layer to our uniqueness, to how we are meant to eat, how we are meant to live, what kind of habits we're supposed to have, etc. But we can go even more granular, even more deep into the individual experience by looking at this through the lens of human design. So let me show you. See if I can flip my camera around. All right. So Holistica is, like I mentioned, 21 days. And the way that I've broken this down is into a pre-cleanse, a deep cleanse, and then a post-cleanse. So as you can see here, this is all of the different sections. We've got like a little intro section here, your journey begins here. We've got the pre-cleanse, which is 7 days, and each of those days has a short video. All of the days, the entire 21 days has a short video for you to follow. The 10-day deep cleanse, which is where you're actually gonna get deep into the cleansing. There is the post-cleanse, so that you know how to sustain these results long-term, and also you're gonna feel so supported coming out of it. And then I've also thrown in a few bonuses for you. So you're gonna get access to some yoga classes that I've recorded that are gonna be so great and aligned with this entire cleanse, as well as the Vegepedia, which I created that database. It's like an encyclopedia for plant-based ingredients. And it's pretty wonderful, if I do say so myself. So I'm gonna open up the deep cleanse and just show you what that looks like for a moment here. So day 8, 9, 10, all the way down to day 17, right? So you can see some of the titles here. We've got your kitchen workshop and workflow. By the way, yes, you are gonna have access to an entire kitchen workshop. You're gonna have all of the recipes. You're gonna have everything that you need step by step, how to make the food, as well as how you can customize that food for yourself. You're also going to have some different types of like rituals that you can include. Nothing is too dogmatic or rigid, right? Everything is really open to interpretation and what's actually feeling good for you. And then a few challenges just to keep yourself excited and moving through this with joy, right? Because I think that fun is the most important piece of all of this. And then at the end, I'm also going to teach you how to reintegrate ingredients in the safest and most effective way possible, as well as what it means to reintegrate yourself into your life after a cleanse. And let me just take a moment to open up the kitchen workshop and workflow, because this one is just so fun, right? You're gonna have access to the video here, and down below you've even got some different types of resources. I created an entire Trello board for you, which has got all of the recipes. You know, there's some little like reflective prompts for you as well. And then the video, and I'm just gonna mute this before I turn it on, is pretty awesome. You're gonna have a full step-by-step guide on how to make the recipes that are a part of this cleanse. So yeah, turn that back. So that's Holistica. Now, if you have questions, you know that you can always reach out to me. I'm super happy to answer your questions. And also right now until April 1st, there is a really awesome deal that I'm doing for the spring equinox. And that is that when you purchase Holistica, you are going to have access to the community space, because I find that community is just so important. It's a really big piece of my design, actually, is being able to bring people together. I find that when we are together, we not only perform better, but we also have a much more profound experience. We're sharing that bond with people, and it becomes something that is so special, so profound, and irrevocable. So you'll have access to the community. You're also going to have access to 3 live coaching calls with me. And in those live calls is where I'm going to be able to do hot seat coaching if questions are coming up. And I'm also going to dive a little bit deeper into how you can customize this cleanse even more according to your human design. And then you're also going to have access to not 1, but 2 of my workshops, my master classes. So the first one is going to be the activated masterclass. So that one is design, dosha, and desires, so you can understand human design, ayurveda, and what it means to integrate these 2 worlds seamlessly. You have instant access to that one. And then you're also going to have access to my upcoming masterclass, which is happening in May around the same time that we're doing Holistica. It's actually during Holistica, which is on superfoods and supplements. So how you can consume a plant-based diet in the most nourishing way possible, and what types of superfoods and supplements to focus on so that you can bring yourself into ultimate well-being and stay in a state of cleansing. So that is what I wanted to say today. And I know that this is a lot of information. I think that it's just something that's so on my heart all of the time, right? I look around and I see people walking around so uncomfortable in their bodies, and even people I don't know. And I don't say this in a way where I'm like projecting onto them, right? But I see people who are uncomfortable in their bodies and they look really like they're sort of holding themselves in a sort of self-conscious way, or you can see that they're physically not doing well. A lot of visceral fat around the belly, which is one of the most dangerous types of fats, right? Skin conditions, things that you can very clearly see. And my biggest wish, right? My biggest wish for everyone is just that we can all find a state of balance, that we can find harmony in our bodies. That would be such a different world if we had that. And if I can do my part by, you know, helping a few people reach that state of balance and harmony in their body, then wonderful. Because the ripple effect of that, ooh, that's powerful. And I know that reach one, teach one, you know, each one, reach one, each one, teach one. It's very powerful. So all of that to say, you can reach out to me for the link if you want to join the Spring Equinox Bundle till April 1st, 2023, depending on when you're watching this. But also this is going to be available regardless, even after that point. And if you want to join this round, we start in May. I would love to see you there. Please consider this your warm and welcoming invitation into Holistica, into this world. Come play with me, come cleanse with me. And again, if any questions are coming through, then please know that you're welcome to send those through at any time. Have a wonderful day or evening whenever you are watching this. Sending love.